What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Packers.com, the Packers social media apps, for another edition of Packers Preview, brought to you by Microsoft Surface. I am Wes Hodkowitz, joined alongside my colleague at Packers.com, editor. I almost called you senior writer. I'm the senior writer.
So you're the senior
editor
writer.
of Packers.com, Mike Spofford, leading into Sunday's Week 6 matchup between the Green Bay Packers and Arizona Cardinals, a noon Central start time game that can be watched on Fox and will be played here at Lambeau Field. Next 10 to 15 minutes, we will be here to answer all of your questions on X, Facebook, and YouTube leading into this matchup between the Packers and Cardinals. Before we jump into those questions, we'll let those populate. I will read off the Packers injury report, which we found out probably about a half an hour ago before we started our newest edition of Packers Preview. We do know Devontae Wyatt will miss his second straight game with an ankle injury. 5 players are questionable for this one, including Jair Alexander, Christian Watson, Jordan Morgan, Aaron Mosby. The one addition to that was Rasheed Walker, who has a knee injury. He was limited today in practice, was also added there as well. And a numerous amount of names also for the Arizona Cardinals. But let's just start off with the Packers side of things, Michael. Certainly, we talked to Jair in the locker room. He's optimistic, but was also somewhat optimistic last week. Groin injuries, especially for a cornerback, can be kind of a precarious situation. Wants to be healthy, wants to be 100% when he's back out there. Christian Watson, a human marvel. I still don't know how he's doing this compared to how everything looked 2 weeks ago. Also questionable, and then we'll just have to wait and see what happens here with Rasheed Walker.
Yeah, Rasheed Walker is kind of the big piece of news. He wasn't on the injury report all week, was added on Friday, limited in practice, listed as a knee. We don't really know the severity. We aren't really sure if it's something that is just going to kind of be brushed aside, he's going to be fine, or if it really might hold him out, and then the Packers will have to make a decision on who steps in there at left tackle.
All right, well, we'll start off with the questions with Nathan, on YouTube. It's not so much a question, it's more of a statement, and it was my story this week on Packers.com. Bo Melton going against his brother, Max, this Sunday. One of the very rare instances where, brothers will play each other. Obviously, the Kelsey thing was well documented in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but to have a guy that plays, as their older brother Gary said, the antithesis of each other, a receiver and a cornerback.
Right.
In so many ways, they've been, their time at Rutgers was sort of predicated on them practicing against one another for the very first time, though, Mike. Potentially, at least their teams will be pitted against each other on Sunday.
Yeah, and maybe even on special teams too, right? If there's a flyer jammer matchup on punt team, like on the outside or something like that. I mean, it could be pretty interesting. I think, from the Packers' point of view, obviously, we saw Bo Melton kind of get a little bit more involved in the offense last week with both Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs missing that game. Doubs is back. He's back from the suspension. He practiced all week, is expected to play. As you said, Watson is questionable, but has made a ton of progress, obviously, from where he was. So don't really know how much, Bo Melton is going to play on offense. On Arizona's side of things, Max Melton has had his defensive snaps continue to increase.
Right.
As a rookie second-round pick, has kind of been in some ways brought along slowly, at least when you look at the playing time of things from the defensive side of the ball. He's been playing a lot of special teams as well. But on the defensive side, he's becoming a bigger and bigger part of things in Arizona's secondary. We'll see if that continues on Sunday.
And I just have to say, again, not trying to be self-serving, but throwing it out there one more time, our feature that we did on Bo and Max this week and the entire Melton family.
Check that out. That was well done.
Thanks. No, but I mean, it is a cool story, and the fact that what I appreciate the most about Bo and Max and talking to all these Meltons, the way they carry themselves, the way they conduct themselves, very good people, but how dedicated they were towards each other, their legacy. For example, and I keep mentioning this about how Bo chose to go to Rutgers at a time in which Rutgers wasn't at the peak of its powers. Bo Melton was a 4-star high school recruit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a guy that had 30 offers from everywhere, including Oregon, who was really that was the school he really wanted to play for as a kid. He just loved the colors, he loved his team, he loved everything about it, but then ultimately decided to play at Rutgers, made himself into an NFL player at Rutgers, and obviously Max becoming the highest drafted Rutgers product in 14 years, or 13 years in this draft, I think really speaks not only to the fact that they got to where they needed to be, where they should be, but the fact that they did it their way. They didn't feel like they had to go to Alabama to do it, or Georgia, or any of these big-time programs. they went to a place that they wanted to help redefine that legacy. And if you're following Rutgers, last week came very close to being 5-0 at this point. We're both very integral parts of kind of raising the standard of that program with Greg Schiano back.
Yeah, I think what's neat too is just that as brothers, now they have the older brother, Gary Jr., right?
Gary Paul.
But with Bo and Max, they're close enough in age that they did play together as teammates in high school for a year, and then they did play together as teammates at Rutgers for a couple of years because of COVID, changing eligibility rules and all that kind of stuff. But just, those opportunities that they got to be teammates in both high school and college, and now they're going to be on the same field as NFL players but wearing opposite uniforms. I just think the timeline of that is pretty cool.
I have to include this. From YouTube, Melanie Arena says, my dog says hi to everyone. Hello, Melanie's dog. This is what makes this worthwhile for me. I'm a man of the people, but I'm also a man of the pets. And Melanie's dog, whatever your name is, maybe it's Melanie's dog. I wish you a good weekend and a good dinner later tonight. Okay. Dane Farming from YouTube. What do you guys think about Christian Watson or Luke Musgrave? Well, I'm glad you asked that, Dane, because that was the one thing I did not mention with the injury report for the Packers. They have officially placed Luke Musgrave on injured reserve. So he is not going to play in this game. He doesn't have an injury designation because he's now out for at least 4 games. We know the corresponding move to that was John Fitzpatrick was signed, guy that was a 6th-round pick last year by Atlanta, played his rookie season with the Falcons, ended up on their practice squad this year. Packers have talked extensively about how much they liked him. It's going to take some time to get him up to speed on their system, but is a guy that is in the cards for him. The bigger thing as far as this game for Sunday is Christian Watson. And we talked with Romeo Doubs in the locker room. Matt LaFleur also said that Doubs will play in this game on Sunday after serving his 1-game suspension last week. If Christian Watson is available, the Green Bay Packers will have their full contingent of receivers out there.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's certainly what they'd like to have. As Jordan Love seems to be getting healthier with the knee. Jordan Love not even on the injury report at all this week. He's been taking all the reps, no limitations for him in practice, which is also good to see. And yeah, you want to see this Packers offense start to hit its stride, start to hit on all cylinders and produce at the consistent level that we saw it in the back half of last season. It's week 6. I think the offense certainly has an opportunity to get to that level sooner this year than it did last year. That's what everybody's hoping for.
DR on YouTube, is Rasheed Walker going to play? I can't answer that for you, DR, but I do want to just at least point this out. Rasheed, I saw right before we stepped in here, was on Twitter. Sounds like he's interested in potentially getting another tattoo. So all I'm going to say, I'm not reading anything into that, but that sounds to me like it's nothing too significant in terms of, I don't want people's radars going up too much on that, because the number one thing that always happens when we do an injury report and somebody's added to it on a Friday or something happens where they're added on a Saturday, people's minds immediately go to a bad place. If limited is very ambiguous in terms of how things go. If a guy isn't feeling a certain way, if he stops practicing, what have you, want to see how he responds the next day, you have to put him down as limited. So again, we'll wait and see exactly where things are at with Sheed when Sunday comes, but I just caution some pause there. If you see somebody end up being limited and then questionable and not being on injury report, a day earlier, Tucker Kraft was added to the injury report, and he doesn't even have a game status for this thing. If a player has an injury, if something happens, they're dealing with something that affects their practice time, an NFL team has to report that.
Yeah, those are the rules. And I think, obviously, if it's something that did happen today in practice, so he was listed after practice on the injury report for the first time, it's all going to come down to, okay, how is he feeling tomorrow morning when he wakes up? This is what the athletic trainers, the medical staff, this is what they need to know, and won't know anything for sure until then. Hopefully, maybe we get an injury report update that he just gets removed from the injury report tomorrow. That would be great to hear, but we just don't know.
A couple weeks ago, Braden Narveson was added with a foot on a Saturday. Packers did not. They said he's going to play. There's no questionable or anything, but you have to announce that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just part of the protocol. Okay, Mary Catherine on Facebook. What can you share about Ben Sims? Well, I think the one thing that has impressed me about Sims, this is a guy, again, that practiced a lot and got a lot of opportunities in training camp throughout the offseason program because of the torn pectoral that Tucker Kraft had. At that time, it was a lot of Luke Musgrave and it was a lot of Sims. Now the inverse has kind of happened where Musgrave is out for the next 4 games at least, and now Kraft is obviously the one that is flying high. I think the thing about Ben Sims is, one, he's just a ginormous person. I mean, he's 6'5", 250 pounds. I don't know how much body fat is on that dude. I mean, he is filled out in terms of his position and how he plays it, and has been a really good inline presence for them. When he's had to catch the ball, when he's had to make plays on that, he's proven he can do it. The major thing I think that Sims gives them moving forward here is it makes it so that Packers don't have to get out of their 12 personnel packages. They love their 2 tight end looks, and I think they're trying to get back to that more last week. With Ben Sims in the equation there as an inline guy, you can still move around Tucker Kraft and do a lot of intriguing things.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have both those tight ends line up on the same side. You could have them, line up one on each side. You could have Tucker Kraft, line up in a stand-up position in the slot, but then still have another tight end on the field in line for blocking if you want to still run the ball out of a formation like that. All those things are possible. Is this where I get to remind you that I called Ben Sims' touchdown against Kansas City last year?
Yeah.
Remember that? In the press box, I said...
By all means, you may tell the folks again this.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I'd like you to do it, actually. No, you did.
No, it was just funny, though, because I remember the Packers get down there against the Chiefs, and we were sort of like, how are they going to get in the end zone here? And I just said, play action to Ben Sims. He hadn't caught a touchdown. Or no, I take that back. Didn't he have the touchdown against Detroit?
No, Ben Sims. He had one career touchdown.
And it was in the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really did call it out of the blue then.
If you didn't, we're just going to act like we got it right, and we'll fact check later. But again, I think especially Matt LaFleur mentioned with John Fitzpatrick, it's going to take some time for him to catch up to speed on things.
Yeah, he's going to be a game day inactive.
Yes.
He's not going to be suited up and playing right away here.
Green Bay also has on their practice squad Andrew Beck, who is listed as a fullback, but is bigger than some tight ends that I've covered here, and also with Messiah Swinson, who's been in the program as well. So there's some things you can do there if you want to have Fitzpatrick down, getting to learn the system, other guys that can be elevated in his place. Okay, a couple more minutes here. Again, he's Mike Spofford. I'm Wes Hockwitz. Packers preview brought to you by Microsoft Surface. Packers Cardinals, noon Central start time on Fox. All right, let's jump back into these questions here. Let's go to Camden McManus on YouTube. I want keys to victory for the game? I'm Ron Burgundy. That's usually the way I close, but shoot. I read the question. Mike, give me your key to victory for this. How did the Packers win this game against the Cardinals?
Well, the guy that you really have to be concerned about going into this game if you're the Packers is Kyler Murray, that quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, last week he starts off the game with that 50-yard touchdown run against the 49ers off a simple, zone read action, takes off and scores. The Cardinals then fall behind by 13 points. They come all the way back and win the game on the road at San Francisco with Murray doing his thing. This guy, he's just so dangerous because it can be designed runs, it can be the improvised scramble stuff, it can be making the big downfield throw off of the improvised scramble stuff. I mean, Kyler Murray is just one of these guys who is a big play waiting to happen. So as far as the key to victory, it's not just containing him in the pocket and everything as best you can, but just trying to limit the explosive plays by this Cardinals offense. And of course, the rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., 16.4 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns already this year. He's a big part of that too.
John on YouTube, Watson at full go will open up even more opportunities for Reed and Kraft. This offense has the potential to be silly awesome. Potential is important. And I think there's a lot of potential, especially when you look at the explosiveness of the offense to this point through the first 5 games of the season. Obviously, it is getting everybody out there, the 11 players on the field, and making all those things work. But I will say this, that what I love the most about the way that Brian Gutekunst and his personnel department, and obviously the coaches have developed these guys, is the Packers can hit you in so many different ways with so many different body types and so many different types of athletes. You have a guy like Jaden Reed, who at 5'11", 190 pounds, whatever he goes at about in that range, you think of Christian Watson as that big play downfield target. You don't think that as much with Jaden just based on the measurables, just based on how a roster looks in front of you on paper. But then you see his catch radius, you see the plays that he can make.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is very special. If Watson's back in the mix for this thing, now again, we have to see where the ankle's at. You have to see he's still questionable. But it just adds another dimension to this thing. And Tucker Kraft, as I wrote in the story I posted this morning, as we've touched on all week long, this guy's been one of the big breakout players in the league through the first month of the season.
Yeah.
What he's been able to do at the tight end position, the way he's rounded out his game, this is a difference-making playmaker that just happens to also be a tight end in terms of what his position is listed as.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tucker Kraft has, throughout the course of this season already, through 5 games, steadily made big-time plays and become a really, really significant weapon in this offense. What I'm curious to see, Wes, because when Matt LaFleur mentioned earlier this week that against the Rams, he thought the Packers really only got about 10 snaps of the Rams playing two deep safety, or what they call two shell, cover two, whatever you want to call it. And obviously with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs both being down, I think that had, and the fact that the Rams had been struggling to stop the run, I think that played a big factor in the Rams going with single high safety and all that. If the Packers get all of their full complement of weapons out there and everybody at their disposal, I think that potentially is going to force defenses into a little bit more of the two shell, which then suddenly Josh Jacobs becomes that much more dangerous, right?
Yeah.
That Jordan Love can make his decisions at the line of scrimmage. What is the defense giving the offense, and get the Packers in the right play to move the chains.
Another question off YouTube, and this is going to be kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but you have done your research. I think you've already touched on a little bit with Murray, but what does Arizona do best, and how does Green Bay match up with that? Before I turn that over to you, I'll let that all kind of simmer in your brain a little bit. What they do best is I think they're a well-rounded offense that can go for a 70-yard touchdown at any moment in the game. And I think Marvin Harrison Jr., especially go back to how he performed in week 2, this is a guy that the film is out there now. This guy is going to be special. Everybody knew he was going to be special coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah, there's a reason they drafted him as high as they did.
They did.
Absolutely.
And him and Kyler Murray have gotten on the same page right away. And if you remember Murray, he's worked with top-flight, top-shelf receivers before. But, I mean, this prospect that they have there, I think, gives them another dimension. Connor in the backfield is steady as they come. The one word I use, or the phrase I used in my insider inbox for tomorrow is, you can't let this game become a track meet. Mother Nature might end up having something to say about that as well.
That's true.
Between the cold and potential rain. But either way, explosive plays, the Packers have won that category to this point, and they have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said before, Kyler Murray is so dangerous. Marvin Harrison Jr. is proving to be a big play guy. And James Conner, I'm telling you, he may not be a household name in terms of the top running backs in the NFL, but this guy he's a very underrated power back. If they get near the goal line, James Conner does not get denied very often, but he's also capable of busting a big run if you're so concerned about the big plays and whatnot from the other guys. On the other side of things, with regard to Arizona's defense, they've had their ups and downs. They've played some really, really good stretches of defensive football. They were almost able to beat the Detroit Lions because they really clamped down defensively for one half in that game, and then they pulled off the comeback against the 49ers last week when they clamped down defensively. What really stood out about that win over the 49ers was getting the 2 takeaways late in the fourth quarter in order to be able to win that ball game. So the Cardinals don't have a ton of takeaways on defense, but you mentioned the category of explosive plays, and that's a category the Packers have been winning, and they need to continue to win it. Takeaways is the other one. Don't let a defense like Arizona that maybe is starting to feel pretty good about itself with the 2 takeaways to win a big game on the road at San Francisco, then they start suddenly taking the ball away a whole bunch. Continue to win that category as well.
D.A. Ogre 12 on YouTube with Camp Randall hosting a concert that is Coldplay. I think Stephen Huddy in our social department jumped all over that. Who would be your dream act to headline Lambeau Field?
Boy, I don't know.
I think I could. Well, you can think about it. I would say, Noah Khan would be up there for me. Mumford & Sons. Bon Iver would make a lot of sense with the Eau Claire connection. Okay. It'd be the National, Duke Bobber. My boss is over here. We'd obviously love to see the National here. Jack Harlow would be cool. J. Cole would be cool. I love music, so I can have like 1,000 different things, but I think that would be mine.
Well, I saw the Billy Joel concert when he was at Lambeau Field, and that was a whale of a show.
Yeah.
So it'd be tough for that one to be beat for me.
But anybody else? Nobody else off the top of your head?
Well,
Fleetwood Mac?
No, not Fleetwood Mac, but no. He's he's retired now, but Elton John would be the other one I would love to see in a stadium.
No,
setting.
musicians are like MMA fighters, man. Nobody's ever retired. Nobody's ever retired. That's possible to come back. All right, I'm going to close on this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold on that for a second because I want to give Tyler Gajewski's question, and you're going to love that. Green Bay Packers are playing the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday at Lambeau Field. Do you know what that means? Packers game day program. Jordan Love, this cover, you are the one that originally put this cover together, Michael. You and Tim Chapman. This is one of our covers from the summer. We were debating between the yearbook and game day program.
And our talented colleague, Nicole Tim.
Well,
Yes.
we got the best of both worlds. We did one for the yearbook, and now the other one got into my game day program.
Yeah,
Our game day program.
what we felt were our two best Jordan Love photos from last season, his first season as a starter. We put one of them on the cover of the yearbook, and the other one is on this game program cover.
Emma Pravacek, our photography intern. I don't even know if this will repurpose as far as on the thing. How freaking cool is that shot of Jordan Love?
That's a whale
the face of the
yeah.
future. Emma, incredibly talented, took so many great shots and promo shots going into the season. Packers game day program picked that up on Sunday. I'm going to ask you this quick from Tyler Gajewski. Fellas, my mother, Rosemary Gajewski, is wondering where you guys are going to fill up for Perch tonight. I'm not filling up with Perch.
I'm not either.
I'm going to
actually.
Bayport High School tonight. I'm going back to my alma mater.
You're catching the game?
I'm catching the game.
All right.
Before I got some dinner plans with some friends, including Darren Urban, who does what I do, does what we do over at the Cardinals. But there's a rumor maybe some Packer players going to be popping over there. I'm going to maybe get some.
So Darren's already here? Like, he came in today?
Tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah, the Cardinals get here tonight. At least Darren does. So
Okay.
I think maybe everybody. So I'm going to go to Bayport, going to go back to my alma mater. First time in probably 10 years I've been to a Bayport game. And you're not getting Perch, so that's okay.
No, I'm not getting Perch
All right.
tonight.
All right, let's see. Last question. Is that flannel, Wes? Looks nice. That's from LD. It is flannel. I bought this for Nashville, and then it was like 95 degrees in Nashville, and I couldn't wear it. So here I am on a random Friday wearing it instead. Yeah, we'll close it off on there. Packers, Cardinals, to get to 4-2, Packers have to do what?
They got to stop the big play.
Stop the big play. He's Mike Spofford. I'm Wes Hockowitz. Stay tuned to Packers.com, the Packers mobile app. Tons of content up there already, including, as I've mentioned for the 5th time, my story on Bo Melton, Max Melton, the Melton family profile that we did. Lauren Anderson, got to give a huge shout out to Lauren. She put in so much work to not only create the graphic, but create the user experience on the mobile app. Shout out to Lauren and everything that she does for us here. Mike's One Last Look column will be up tomorrow, and then also the update with Romeo Dobbs currently on the website as well, I believe. For Mike Spofford, I'm Wes Hockowitz. Until next time, we'll see you later.